What do you see? A candle? I see a point of light. Do you see a privacy wall? I see repetition. This stone wall. I see texture, mass, shadow. Most people think artists are better at seeing the world. They're not. They simply learn to see it differently. Welcome to a new series I'm calling GP Studio. In episode 1, we're learning how to see the GP way. Before we build anything, I think we should ask a really simple question. Why do humans make art at all? I mean, for thousands of years, long before video games, and long before architecture or even photography, people just covered cave walls with images. It's not because they needed decoration, but because they needed to communicate. They wanted to communicate. They wanted to tell stories, to remember, to worship, to persuade. They wanted to explore beauty and fear. They wanted to dream. Art has never simply been about making something beautiful. It's about making someone feel something. And that's exactly what environmental design is. You're not decorating a room. You're communicating an experience. I think the biggest misconception beginners have is that they believe that the more experienced builders know more decor. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times they don't. What they know is the relationship of that decor in the space, the silhouettes, the shapes. When a beginner looks at an elven shelf, they see the elven shelf. But when a more experienced designer looks at that shelf, they'll see the shape, they'll see the balance, the weight, the geometry, all the negative space, highlights and shadow. Every object becomes an idea, and once everything becomes an idea, you can build almost anything. I want to preface this by saying, I believe every artist steals from history. It's not that they copy, but they definitely borrow ideas. If you look at Blizzard, they do it constantly. For instance, Revendreth is completely copied from Gothic architecture and Baroque painting. So if Blizzard studies history, I think we should study history. Something that's important to me that you're going to learn through this is that I kind of want to teach more than housing to you. I want to teach you some visual literacy so you can understand how to actually come up with these designs. One thing they teach at Parsons and RISD and other design schools is that you should consume and analyze art to further your own art. Through this, I kind of want to instill upon you that creativity is just basically a library of references and ideas, and it's how you come up and mix it through your own viewpoint. That's art, and all art is valid. If your viewpoint and aesthetic comes from something like pop culture and not necessarily from the things I'm showing you, that's totally fine too. This is just kind of like a basics of what came before and how it influences the future. The first art piece that I'm going to show you is called The Garden of Earthly Delights by Bosch. It is a 500-year-old painting that's basically concept art. If you look at it, there's these impossible creatures and symbolism. The visual storytelling is there with the triptych. It's this beautifully controlled chaos, almost reminiscent of the old gods. Basically an old god zone. I guess you could say Bosch was one of the first environmental designers. He constructed this entire fantasy world. Games inherited fantasy from artists. Another artist I constantly return to is Caravaggio. I love his compositions and his subjects, but what I mostly love is his use of chiaroscuro and the way he utilizes light as a tool in his paintings. Caravaggio understood environment very well. He had a very deep understanding of light, and it guides the viewer's eyes. In Caravaggio's Supper at Emmaus, Jesus is depicted breaking bread with his two disciples, and there's this unrevealed light source that is almost miraculous. It's almost as if God is in the room. The best part about this painting is the storytelling using lighting. There's two disciples that are witnessing this miracle with the breaking of the bread and the Eucharist, and the innkeeper next to him is clouded by shadow, and that kind of makes it seem like he's unaware of the fact of this miracle that's happening in front of him. And it's a really great storytelling device that Caravaggio used here, and it gives you all the clues you need to know about what's going on in the scene. The light makes it dramatic. The brightest place becomes the story in his art. When we light our own environments, we should do the same. We shouldn't decorate with light, we should direct attention with light. Next we have Egon Schiele. Here we don't want to focus on the anatomy, we want to focus on his line work. Do these drawings make you feel uncomfortable? Because I believe that they should. The lines have emotion. Any kind of texture in the line, jagged lines, broken lines, these twisted poses, I believe you can do that with your design lines in housing. Another one of my favorite painters is Jackson Pollock. And people often say that I could do that or my kid could do that. And maybe that's true, but Pollock wasn't trying to paint objects or, people or trees. He was painting movement and energy. He wanted the rhythm and the chaos in his paintings. You can see that it's pretty deliberate too. Like your eye travels through the lines, the strokes and the splatters. I believe that this can lend itself to our builds. We should infuse energy through our builds. The idea of movement, and not just through particle effects, but movements in the lines. Like my tentacles, they have a movement to them. The next paintings I'm going to show you are by Pierre-Auguste Cotte. They're called Springtime and the Storm, and they're very romantic paintings. They're at the Met in New York City, and if you have a chance to go see them in person, I recommend it. They're very beautiful. Here, I want to show you that we can remember this as very pretty, but we're going to remember that feeling. We're going to remember the storm, the wind, that longing. It's an incredible lesson for us builders, because the players you invite into your home won't remember every object you placed, but they will definitely remember how your house made them feel. I want someone to walk into your house and feel it. I want them to feel something. That's good design. This one's kind of a curveball. It's called the Grand Odalisque, and her proportions are pretty impossible. You can tell by her spine. She's a very long lady, but this is exactly why it works. The artist has this super stylized vision and bends reality to tell this better story. So if the subject needs to be longer, make the subject longer. Reality serves the composition, not the other way around. This is one of my favorite pieces of art. It's by Emma Hawke. She's an outsider artist. I know that's controversial, but it's really good. At first glance, it's super illegible. There's repeated words and super dense script, but you don't really want to read it. You kind of want to view it as an art piece. The meaning comes through emotion rather than information. So when you see something like this, you see the hurried, desperate writing, you see the repeated strokes over and over again. Like she really wants to convey a message. It's very beautiful. Anyways, this doesn't need to make sense, but I also believe your environment doesn't always have to make sense in order to convey an emotion. The people that view your designs don't need every answer. The mystery helps create imagination. So what does this have to do with World of Warcraft? Everything. If you open housing mode and you look at your decor, you'll see candles, books, walls, tables. But try to see outside of the decor. Try to forget their names, forget what they're supposed to be, look only at their shapes. A candle becomes a vertical line, a table a horizontal plane. A fence becomes pattern, rhythm. A rug becomes color, a statue becomes silhouette. You're no longer decorating, you're composing with these items. So children learn language through words, but I want us as artists to relearn the world through shapes. Everything complicated can become simple if you just break it down. A tree becomes a cylinder and a sphere. A cathedral becomes rectangles and triangles. Paint your murals with broad strokes before fine details. This is why I like to block out first. I like to start my environment with large shapes, then work into medium shapes, and then small shapes. Don't start with details. Just start with the relationship of the shapes and then work on the fine strokes in the end. Alright, I have a small exercise I'd like you to try. In an empty room, don't build like a tavern or castle or anything crazy, but start just from your imagination. You can just do something freeform. Create one large shape using any decor, then 3 medium shapes using, again, any decor, and then 5 small shapes. Then walk to the opposite side of the room, look at it, and if you see something come together there, then the composition might be working for you. And you're already starting to think like a designer when you're thinking in shapes versus pre-made decor. I hope after today you can look at WoW housing in a different light, and WoW for that matter, and architecture and paintings and trees and cities, because I want you to see those shapes. And I really want you to learn from this series, and I hope through this series that we can both find ourselves as environmental artists, and we're not going to collect decor. We're going to collect the light, the movement, the texture, rhythm, contrast, emotion. That's where creativity comes from. It's not really the decor that's giving us the creativity. It's inventing that something from nothing. But I think we'll all learn that it was there all along. This series isn't about learning to build my ideas. It's about learning to build yours. In the next episode, we'll take the first real step. We'll discover that every great environment, every mural, every cathedral, and every monster begins exactly the same way, with a shape.